My Oxford Year. Was the book or movie better? Let's dive in. Let's start with the differences between the characters from the page to the screen. First up, let's start with our protagonist. In the book, her name is Eleanor Duran, a student from Ohio who spends a year at Oxford before returning to the US to consult on a political campaign. Her father died in a car accident, and his death played a huge role in how she forms relationships as an adult. In the movie, the protagonist's name is changed to Anna De La Vega, and she is played by Sofia Carson. Anna is a student from New York City who is getting her master's degree in poetry at Oxford before returning to a job at Goldman Sachs. Both of her parents are alive and are actively involved in her life, unlike in the book. Next up, we have Jamie Davenport, played by Mylchreest. Although his physical description is not extensively detailed in the novel, his character arc is quite similar in both. He is a PhD student at Oxford who teaches Victorian poetry and suffers from a rare genetic form of cancer. Both versions choose to live their lives to the fullest and make the most of it. We also have to talk about Cecilia Knowles, portrayed by Poppy Gilbert. In both the novel and the movie, she is associated with Jamie and his brother, and the protagonist mistakes her closeness to Jamie as a romantic interest, making her a rival for Jamie's affection. We also have to talk about the friend group. First up is Maggie Thames, played by Esme Kingdom. The novel doesn't mention her physical description outside of the fact that she is a woman in her 20s at Oxford who becomes friends with Eleanor. In the movie, she is quirky and different from Anna and becomes one of her besties thanks to the way they both balance each other out. Next up is Charlie Butler, played by Harry Trevelyan, another one of Anna's best friends who also happens to be her neighbor. He is a character created just for the film. He has a sharp tongue and a tender heart, and he is also sort of the comic relief character. And lastly, rounding out that friend group is Thomas Sethi, played by Nikhil Parmar. His character is also not in the books, but he is a character created specifically for the movie to add more dimension to the friend group, as well as giving Maggie a love interest. Now, let's talk about the biggest story changes between the book and the movie. A major difference is how much more stripped down various scenes of the movie are compared to the book. The movie sticks to the general setup of the romantic plotline. Jamie almost runs Anna over, they reconnect at a local food spot, and their bantering turns into romance. In the novel, the fish and chip shop is where Ella ends up with foods splattered on her shirt, a scene bursting with energy, mess, and humor. It's full of life. In contrast, the movie tones this moment down into something much more restrained and orderly. That contrast carries throughout the entire adaptation. The movie draws out their connection slowly and gently, while in the book, their chemistry ignites quickly and they even sleep together after just one night at the pub. Their relationship grows through weekly routines, dorm room drop-ins, and deep, revealing conversations. The film strips much of that away, offering only a few subdued moments and glossing over the emotional depth of their bond. Another major change is how the audience and the protagonist discover Jamie's illness. In the book, Jamie tells Ella he's swamped with his dissertation, and when she checks in on him at his usual study spot, she finds it empty. That's when she uncovers the truth that Jamie has the same cancer as his brother. The emotional breakthrough of that moment happens during a quiet trip between the two of them, where they share hot chocolate and vulnerability. In the movie, Jamie does give the same studying excuse to Anna, but it's the librarian who hints that something is off with him. The emotional breakthrough does still happen in a similar way, but with a group of people rather than just the two of them. And speaking of character changes, there are a lot of minor changes here and there, like with Jamie's brother. In the movie, Eddie is the name of Jamie's brother who tragically died of cancer. Learning about Eddie also clears up the bond that Jamie has with Cecilia, who was Eddie's girlfriend. The entire reveal plays out very similarly in the book, but with a few different details. In the novel, Jamie's late brother is actually named Oliver, and Cecilia wasn't just his girlfriend, she was his fiancée. In the movie, Anna's friends, Charlie, Maggie, and Tom, have a much stronger presence in the story than in the novel, which helps to provide heartfelt moments of laughter and love amidst the romantic drama. A crucial scene, for example, is when Anna and Jamie and their friends go punting. She opens up about her parents to them and shares her past. In the book, it is only Jamie and Eleanor who go punting together, and she opens up about her past and her father's death over hot chocolate, which reminds Eleanor of her father. And we also have to talk about that ending, which is one of the biggest changes between the two forms of media. In the book, Jamie actually survives his cancer diagnosis after joining a clinical trial after recovering from his bout of pneumonia. He and Ella go on their long-promised European holiday, and while their future remains very uncertain, it's filled with all of the best romantic drama tropes of love and hope. In the movie, however, things take a far more dramatic turn. Jamie stops his treatment and dies with Anna by his side. Anna then takes their European trip alone, and the final scene shows her teaching at Oxford and honoring his legacy by taking over his role as a poetry professor. Now, let's talk about what the movie got right and what it got wrong. One of the main strengths of the adaptation is that it streamlines the romantic relationship between the main characters. By removing the father's death and her strained relationship with her mother in the movie, Anna's arc is more focused on her relationship with Jamie, rather than dealing with some of her trauma. There is also a more heightened emphasis on the friend group to create more heartfelt moments for Jamie and Anna's budding romance, with characters like Cecilia and Charlie providing emotional support that was somewhat absent in the novel. This simplification removes some of the emotional depth found in the book, of course, but it also allows the movie to directly focus on the connection and romance between Anna and Jamie, portraying it as a more straightforward and powerful love story, albeit tragic. Another strength of the movie is how it changes up the ending to a more tragic and definitive conclusion to Anna and Jamie's story. As mentioned before, the novel gives a bit more hope for readers, as Jamie's cancer treatment is able to buy him more time to travel around Europe with Eleanor. But the ambiguous ending does not necessarily deliver on an emotional climax for the reader. This decision was a choice made by the filmmakers to create a more emotional story for the screen. However, as much as the movie had strengths, it did have a few weaknesses too. One major weakness of the adaptation is that it reduces the protagonist's depth significantly compared to the novel. As I said before, streamlining and focusing on romance elevated the adaptation to an extent, but at the cost of making Anna seem like a cliché romantic drama character trope. In the book, Eleanor is much more complex as an individual with a deep passion for poetry, who experiences a distinct culture shock as an American studying abroad. Plus, she's dealing with her own traumas regarding her parents. The adaptation sidelines all of these motivations and struggles, transforming her into little more than a love interest for Jamie. Another notable weakness is the underdeveloped handling of the university setting and the characters' shared passions. While the film is set in Oxford, it features surprisingly little exploration of university life. A central element connecting the two main characters is their love for poetry, but this is also given minimal attention in the movie. The book has more space to explore these themes, enriching both the setting and the characters' relationships. The movie's superficial treatment of these aspects leaves a gap in the storytelling, focusing far too much on the romance at the expense of a richer narrative context. All right. So, which one wins, the book or the movie? For me, the book wins. Julia Whelan's novel is much more deeply layered with emotion, and it captivates the audience much more with its charm and drama than the movie could. But what do you think? Did the cry your eyes out adaptation do the book justice, or do you prefer the original like me? Let me know down in the comments because I'm dying to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell, and I will see you next time right here on Collider.